All right, today and tomorrow we're going to be solving equations with variables on both sides. And both sides means both sides of the equal sign. So some of the problems that you'll see will look like 5x plus 2 is equal to 2x plus 14. Okay, the first thing you're trying to do when there's variables on both sides of the equal sign are to get all the variables on one side. All right, so your first step is to move all variables to one side. And when you move all variables to one side, you do that by inverse operation. So to avoid mistakes, the easiest variable to move is the smaller one, or the variable with the smaller number in front of it. So in this case, the x has a 5 in front of it on the left and a 2 in front of it on the right. So the first step would be to subtract 2x from each side. And when you subtract 2x from each side, working from left to right, 5x minus 2x is 3x. The plus 2 falls down. Your equal sign falls down. The 2's right here cancel each other out, and that's why you subtracted 2 from each side. And the positive 14 falls down. What you're left with is a two-step equation like you did last week. So your next step would be to isolate the variable. And you're trying to isolate this. And you're going to isolate that 3x by inverse operations again. So if you subtract 2 from each side, the 3x falls down. The 2's cancel. And 14 minus 2 is 12. And now you're left with a one-step equation. You're still trying to isolate the x. You're going to do that by inverse operation. So the variable is being multiplied by 3 in this case, so you're going to divide both sides by 3. These 3's cancel, and x is equal to 4. So right now it looks like one more step than last week. So let's do another one. Does anybody have a question on any of those steps? So let's take 7x plus 2, 7k plus 2, and it's equal to 4k minus 10. In this case, you're going to move the variable with the smaller number in front of it. All right, in this case, the 4 is smaller than the 7. So I would move the 4k first, and you would do that by subtracting 4k from each side. So 7k minus 4k is 3k. And now the plus 2 equals, the 4k's cancel out, and this negative 10 is what falls down. You're going to isolate the variable. You're trying to get the 3k by itself. So you would do that by subtracting 2 from each side. The 3k falls down. The 2's cancel out. And 3k is equal to, now it's equal to negative 12. Trying to isolate the k. Same step as the last problem. You're going to do that by dividing both sides by 3. The 3's will cancel. And k is going to be equal to a negative divided by a positive. That's going to be a negative 4. Questions? All right, then there will be a couple of problems on your assignment today. Actually, there's only one problem that involves the distributive property. So let's do an example of a distributive property problem where 2 is being multiplied by 5x minus 1. And that's going to be equal to 3 times x plus 11. All right, so in a problem like this, distributive property first. And that's distributive property to remove, and they call it remove grouping symbols. Distributive property to remove grouping symbols. That means take the 2 and multiply it by 5x, and you get 10x. And then take the 2 and multiply it by negative 1, and that's equal to negative 2. Drop your equal sign down and multiply 3 times x, which is 3x. And then multiply 3 times 11, which would be positive 33. You've got an x with a 10 in front of it and a 3 in front of it. Move the smaller number. So if you subtract 3x from each side, then over here on the left you got 7x minus 2 equals, the 3x's cancel, and it equals 33. Now you're going to try to isolate, or you're going to isolate the 7x. You're going to do that by adding 2 to each side of the equation. So the 7x comes down. The 2's cancel, and the 7x is equal to 35. Yes, ma'am. Now you're trying to isolate just the x, so you would do that by dividing both sides by 7. These 7's cancel, and the x is equal to 5. So most of your problems today are just going to be variables on both sides, but you will have one problem where you have to do the distributive property first. Your assignment for today is going to be I'm giving you a handout, and it's going to be page 105, and I need you to do problems 1 and 2, and then 10 through 18. The answers are also on the bottom of the handout, so be sure to check each answer. Okay? I will collect your work at the end of the period and check each answer and do your work on a separate sheet of paper. So take a clean piece of paper out, please. Put your name, date, and period number on it, and do your work on that piece of paper today.